Starting a little early. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm just going to confirm that you can before I go on and on and on. Happy Wednesday, or hopefully you've had a happy Wednesday. And maybe your Thursday is halfway over if you're in Australia, I think. All right. Sound and video is good. Hello to Colette and Mike G. Ruthless Crab, always great to see you. Hi, Saban. Hello, Bill B. Aloha. Bonjour, Paul, if Paul is here. Yes, Paul is here. Did I just... Okay, I think I got everybody. So, starting a little bit early. So, we're not quite at the quarter hour part. So, yeah, I decided to throw a new thumbnail out there. Hello, Mal. Yeah, and then oh yeah, thank you, Colette. This is from oh gosh, I just blanked. It's from Ryan Airy does it. Why can I not think of it? Ryan Airy does. It's from Screen Crush. Gosh, I even have a sticker over there, and my brain just purged that. But yeah, so Screen Crush makes these. They cover Star Wars. We have new Star Wars streaming series coming, so that is super, super nice. It does look suspiciously like a bowling ball. I think that's why I like it. My dudist energy in that realm as well coming out. So here we are. That 15 minutes past the hour, as one has been, or as we agreed upon, or as I said. Hello to Brian Sweeney and Lynn. Yeah, it's so great to have everyone here. For those, I say this often, and I think for the most part, at least everyone who's spoken in chat, I think I can confirm that you're on the mailing list. But if you're not on the mailing list, you can send an email there, and I'll add you to the mailing list. Mailing list is manual, so you'll get emails from me, and you can just reply back to them, and they come to me. You won't get this is a unsurveilled or an unread mailbox or whatever. And for the next, inspired by Ralph. So Ralph Andredez and Chris DeMilo? Chris D. Hopefully I'm getting his surname and family name right. Did a session for DiMeglio. Thank you. So I think DiMeglio is the right pronunciation. Although in Italian, the GL is a different sound. So maybe I'm getting that right. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. That's a Romance language thing, but DiMeglio. And it took me a second to remember that. So I've forgotten Screen Crush, and I also forgot Chris's name. But after doing that was my own. I signed up for Immersion, and I went to Ralph and Chris's thing. That's all I went to. I wanted to wave to you all as well. There were a couple of you there. I appreciated that. I think I was off camera for the entire thing. But I was thinking about for the next... Hello, Marjorie. Welcome. We haven't started yet. But yeah, for the next, say, 6 weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to flip things a little bit. And I'm going to do our normal setup that I do at the beginning. Start with posture and check-in and calming breaths. And then we're going to do mostly nothing. So that'll take usually on par about 3 minutes, maybe 4. And then we'll sit with nothing. I will sort of interrupt the broadcast, if you will, at a few spots just to offer some pointers that might be beneficial given what I'm experiencing. Maybe some reminder on if you feel like your mind is sort of wandering too much, then go ahead and check your posture as a starting point, and then maybe a reminder about with the technique how to sort of allow yourself to reset. So something along those lines. But we'll have the same format then for like the next 6 weeks as an experiment. I think that gives us 2 weeks. So the last 2 weeks of October, and then the 4 weeks of November. Although I haven't made, maybe November has 5 weeks, or 5 Wednesdays, I should say. No, it has 4. All right, never mind. So yeah, okay. So anyway, now that I've thought that through out loud in front of y'all, so it'll cover next 2 weeks and then November. Then at that point, we'll go back to sort of like regularly scheduled, maybe sort of, or more than maybe Wednesday sort of stuff. Potentially going back to the technique deck for practices, but something along those lines. So that's like the next 6 weeks, but it's sort of inspired by the idea of just kind of like the minimal aspect of the do nothing practice. So I think most people that are here are familiar with Jeff's do nothing project. So you have some familiarity with it, but the idea really is just being like in your body at the moment. A few of the things I might put out there as pointers is really just noticing if you're trying to grade yourself and then kind of letting that go. One of the nice things about do nothing is there's really no standard. There's no grading key or rubric. So we can think about it as like Brooke had highlighted, like sort of you can always do nothing right, I think is one of the ways that Brooke had said it. So in other words, because there's no criteria to make it wrong. Now, this will rankle some meditation teachers, and they'll be, very like, there's a right way to do it and something. But, and yes, if that's helpful. But for this, I think there's a lot of benefit in one of the parts that Ralph had mentioned, is just the notion of like whether or not if we can just sit with ourselves, we can begin to kind of let go of this internal sort of holding on to. And maybe, and we don't need to harsh our mellow with expectations. So that's where we're headed. I've said more than enough, probably, hopefully. Questions before we begin, you can always put those in chat. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for making room in your schedule for this. I've got 25 minutes on the clock. And again, what we're looking at here is really just a focused sort of posture, initial state, deliberate breaths, and then we'll shift into do nothing. And if do nothing doesn't super resonate, it's sitting and knowing that you're sitting. So borrowing from Joseph Goldstein. So I will invite the bell, and yes, marshmallows are a perfect treat as we approach the candy consumption part of our year. So, all right. Now that we all have some food craving ideas for ourselves. So the notion that I always like to start with when I'm sitting is just this idea of allowing myself to arrive. So sometimes when you enter into a new place, you want to kind of settle in, start kind of this, I want to get this thing put here and get that put away. And so So really in that spirit, we're starting with the posture. And again, I highlight this, but I want to make sure that I include everyone who's standing or lying down or walking, totally spiritually valid. But we're going to focus on the seated posture, either seated on a cushion, in a chair like I am, or on a bench. And really, we're just looking to arrange the body in a posture that is comfortable and allows us to be upright without a ton of effort. So, upright without being uptight. And it sounds incredibly cliche, but sort of every sit is different because you start it with a different initial state. So, there'll be patterns, there'll be a similarity, but this sit is different than last week, which is different than the week before. So just giving a nod to like what's already here. So just I've got kind of this mentally spent quality that I can kind of feel. I can't really put a label on it just yet, but just a little bit of worn out quality, or mentally worn out. Just knowing that, not trying to make the state that I'm in any different than it is. And then that same spirit of not really trying to make our state any different, forcing anything. We're just going to take a few deliberate breaths and settle in. Slow and low is the tempo that we're going for. If you're not stuffed up, breathing in through the nose allows us to slow that inhale down. And that in turn allows you to breathe deep down. And then extending and accentuating the exhale. And again, we're doing our best to arrive, establish our posture, acknowledge where we're at, a few deliberate breaths. And then really the rest of our sit is do nothing. So the minimal view is sitting and just being aware that you're sitting. That's it. Again, there's no answer key, there's no grading rubric. If you are here and you are hearing this, you are doing it right. And then the pithy unified mindfulness version is we let go of any intention to control our attention. And if we notice that we're trying to micromanage our attention, we let it go. And the last amendment to that is if you do that 3 or 4 times, that's really what your mind is trying to do. And so, in essence, the coasting starts now. So, let you explore on your own and just drop in for a few thoughts, maybe a couple pointers. Just a reminder that as one of the priests in the Zen group that I sit in likes to say, we sit with our bones. So if you can adjust yourself in a way that really helps support your posture in the way that your body is arranged so that you're not having to effort, that's helpful. So you're not maintaining that. You can think that when we're doing nothing, we're trying to sit again with the bones, and we're not trying to maintain a posture necessarily. We're sitting. It sounds counterintuitive, but we're also not necessarily trying to maintain a state of mind or a technique. We're just sitting. So one little thought here, and then our pointer. And then the other is that you might find at this point that you're bumping into the chattiness of the mind. And a thought about your thoughts is it a thought or is it thinking? It sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but a random thought is, did I turn the oven off? Or I hope I closed the garage. Thinking is continuing down on that. So if I had a camera in the garage, then I would know if it was open and I could check that from my phone. The stream of thought after thought after thought. Again, it's something that we drop into. It's not a big deal. But just going, oh yeah, I'm thinking. I'm in this train of thought. So noticing that and then just not putting another car on the end of that train or something. All right. Keep going. You're doing good. time is over. I'll ring the bell to signal that it is complete. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for being here on a Wednesday in the middle of your week or a Thursday in the afternoon. If you have any reports, comments, questions, or whatever, you can always put those in chat. Keen to hear if you have any reports around that, just because we switched it up a little bit. Especially, Gabrielle, I know that you were late, and so I tried to work a little bit of the format in, so hopefully the guidance gave you a little bit of bearings on that. And hello to Taryn. I hadn't gotten a chance to say hello to you. Thank you for being here. And then thanks for the 10 likes. I didn't even have to mention that, so I really appreciate that as well. All right, the time flew by. That's interesting. Saban, that's good to hear. Sometimes it drags on. I have this thing where sometimes in the first minute or two, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why don't I meditate more? And then 5 minutes later, or even 2 breaths later, it's like, oh, when is it over? So it's so funny to have this, this is the best. And then kind of thing happens. So if that happens to other folks, happens to people that have been meditating for 15 years, which may or may not be encouraging. But yeah. And then the idea of thought versus thinking is something. So Linda Zwinger, Jinshi, I think is her Dharma name, is a Zen priest in the Sangha that I'm part of here in town, which is a satellite of Upaya. And she talks about that thought versus thinking part, and it aligns a lot with another group that I sit with virtually, where this idea that I'll notice that a thought came up, and then I just happen to become its accomplice. All right, let's go off together and decide who's good or bad or what I should be doing. It's like we stole the car and we're off in one direction. And then I realize, oh my gosh, I've been thinking for the last 6 minutes. And so that's the magic moment for me is can I realize that without turning around and being my sort of inner enforcer and punishing myself for that? So that realization is to be celebrated, or we want to that's the good stuff, as you'll hear Dan Harris sometimes say. So, but this a thought will come up and it'll be so attractive that you're like, get in the car, let's go. And so yeah, but yeah, that framework I find really, really helpful. And I imagine if you asked Linda borrowed it from someone else. So, but yeah, so it's good to hear that you see it as being useful too, Teacher Pete. All right, it's almost the top of the hour. I know people have places to go disappear to. I have a concert to go to. We are going to go see Social Distortion. They're here in town, and I'm quite excited to get a chance to see them. It's been a while since we've seen them. And let's see. I don't know that I have any news. I think that Jeff is. I think Jeff's on as your guide for Sunday. So I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else. I know he's away. Coming up that first week of November. That's an event you can find at the. Oh, that's right. The hangout is tomorrow. So thank you, Paul. Perfect. So yeah, that is something to mention. The hangout is tomorrow, and it's tomorrow morning or afternoon for the West Coast folks. And I know for some that I know that there was some folks in chat that noted that isn't a super great time for everybody, but I think that's probably the most amenable time. Oh, okay. So it's 12. For some reason, I thought it was 12 Pacific. All right. Well, Paul, Thank you for the being quick on the info. Yeah, so it's 9 Pacific. Interesting. I may or may not be. We'll see if I might drop in and like hide in the back of the Zoom room if that's possible. So so hang out tomorrow if you're curious. The Home Base with Jeff subscribers, that's how to get access to the Hangout if I'm informed correctly. Yeah, and then I think we're due for a MindBot Adventure Pod coming out this week. And then there's all sorts of other stuff. Yeah, so on Substack. So homebasewithjeff.com. That is hosted on Substack. So I think that's and then you're a supporter or subscriber on Substack. I think that's how you get access to the Hangout. All right. Well, as was noted, have an excellent rest of your week. And thank you again. Thanks to everybody who's watching the recordings. I see you.